looking live at Gary, Indiana, about 30 miles south of Chicago, where at any moment DHS Secretary Kristi Noem, alongside other immigration officials, will give an update on ICE's Operation Midway Blitz, which Border Patrol Commander Greg Bavino has deemed wildly successful. And that comes despite Democratic opposition. Hello, everyone. This is Outnumbered. I'm Kayleigh McEnany. Here with my co-host, Harris Faulkner. Also joining us, Kennedy, host of the Kennedy Saves the World podcast, Donna Rotuno, Fox News contributor and criminal defense attorney, and Paul Morrow, you know him, Fox News contributor, attorney, and retired NYPD inspector. All this comes as DHS is warning of unprecedented violence against ICE officers. Look at this, as death threats against them have skyrocketed to over 8,000% compared to last year. Just look here at this video on your screen. Officers are being assaulted by people throwing rocks at their heads and blocking police vehicles with their bodies and bicycles. This is just the tip of the iceberg. Meet Eduardo Aguilar, a Mexican national living in Dallas, Texas illegally. DHS says he put a $10,000 hit out for the murder of ICE agents in a TikTok post. Some of these bounties have reached up to $50,000 for the killing or kidnapping of high-ranking officials. Here's another example. This is anti-ICE caller who wishes for law enforcement agents to get doxxed.
You know, it's always the bad guys who need masks, not the good ones. I hope every one of those lawless who call ICE officers get doxxed one by one, and they get the public shaming they deserve.
Man, well, the DHS recently put out a statement defending these ICE agents, stating, quote, "From bounties placed on their heads for their murders, threats to their families, stalking and doxing online, our officers are experiencing an unprecedented level of violence and threats against them and their families. This violence against law enforcement must end." And meet Kat Abugazala, a 26-year-old self-branded influencer running for Congress as a Democrat in Illinois. You can see her right there in pigtails at an anti-ICE protest last month at Illinois' Broadview facility, blocking a police cruiser from lawfully doing their job. She's now been charged for, quote, assaulting, resisting, and impeding a federal law enforcement officer in the performance of their duties. Abugazala is pushing back on the charges brought against her, calling her indictment, quote, political prosecution.
This is a political prosecution and a gross attempt to silence dissent, a right protected under the First Amendment. This case is a major push by the Trump administration to criminalize protest and punish anyone who speaks out against them.
I mean, Paul, just looking over some of the court filings of what's happening in Illinois, you find damaged federal property, blocking means of ingress and egress, ramming occupied law enforcement vehicles, slashing tires, threatening and doxing officers. All of the other examples we just showed, there seems to be an attack on ICE.
Listen, this one's not that complicated, all right? The laws are in place. ICE is out there to enforce the laws that are on the books. The previous administration let in 12 million unvetted, and they're trying to clean it up. If you break the law, you got to accept the consequences. What kills me is that they go do this stuff, they tweet it out to virtue signal, and then they're shocked when ICE IDs them and shows up and says, okay, you broke the law, you got to go. That's it. Here's the thing that I think we can use to advance the story, and this is important. You got to map the networks. The quick one-and-done arrest, and then the judges give them a slap on the wrist, and out they go. That is ineffective. This is the point of the spear of the whole Soros ecosystem. Now, these are the same crews that tore apart our campuses, that destroyed the cities during the 2020 Summer of Love. It's all the same ecosystem. You got to map that ecosystem. I hope the feds are building a very fulsome database to ID everybody, trace the money, because that's so important here. Map these networks going forward, because that's how you get the big conspiracy charges. That's how you cut this stuff off at the root. And I'm going to tell you something else that they absolutely hate that I don't think has been leveraged enough. The only guy doing it is Andy Ngo on X. You got to put up their mugshots. You got to expose them. They hate that because they all want to do this stuff. It's performative. They had their fun day in the field. Then they go back to East Cupcake and they live their lives and they get married and they have kids and they talk about their wild days when they were kids. No, this should follow their lives. because if you're going to attack ICE agents, you can attack federal agents with bricks, rocks, especially if you're an illegal. That should not be one and done. It should stay with you.
Well, I got to stay away from East Cupcake if that's where they're all heading back.
Or is that a place with good cupcakes?
Yeah, well, if that's the case, I'm heading there. This is Governor Pritzker. Here's what he had to say. This is the real villain who he has to keep tabs on.
The courts and the Congress can eventually hold people accountable. It is imperative that none of the impropriety, brutality, and harassment perpetrated upon our people goes unnoticed. Every instance of abuse, of law breaking, or violent and violations of rights needs to be documented and archived.
I mean, Donna, it sounds like he's keeping documents on ICE, the people protecting themselves from lawbreakers.
It's unbelievable. From the people who have let criminals go are now all of a sudden worried about criminals who are trying to do the right thing. I mean, this is just absolutely crazy. Trying to turn around what's happening out there and making it look as if the good guys are the ones causing the problems. I mean, this is just unreal. You cannot keep a city safe. You cannot keep a state safe and allow this to go on. You have to remove these people. And since when have we started to say it's okay to let this go by without saying these are laws that are being broken, laws that we have to look at and say we must enforce them? Because if we don't, this is what happens. And this idea that the woman running in Illinois is being politically prosecuted, no, she is standing in front of a vehicle impeding that vehicle from moving. That is a crime. You don't get to just say, oh, my behavior is excused because I have a different political view. No, your behavior is criminal. And we have to stop this. And I agree with Paul. We have to make sure these people are held accountable, and they don't want to be put on blast, because if they are, they lose their jobs, because businesses are saying, okay, well, we can't have these people around, sometimes schools. So I agree. We have to put them on blast, and we have to hold them accountable. And it's not ICE agents. It's the people out there causing them inability to do their jobs.
And it seems like there's no greater example of the targeting of ICE and law enforcement, Harris, than Border Patrol Commander Greg Bovino, who you spoke with, who is sitting for, a multi-hour deposition today. Seems like a poor use of his time.
Well, it's better than having to go every day at 6 o'clock and spend your evenings with this judge. Who wanted him to be with her each night so that they could, I guess, kind of dismantle what she thinks is improper against protocol behavior against rioters. Non-lethal use of tear gas on a crowd that was pelting rocks and bottles at the heads of ICE agents just a few days ago, right? And he is the Operation Midway Blitz commander. That's who Greg Bovino is. He is the leader, the chief of the sector there. That Chicago's ICE Center sits in. This is an important job. They know they have the worst of the worst among them. They're going after them, and she wants to soak up his time. And yeah, he's there for a deposition. It's a one-off. What she wanted was perennially for him to be sitting with her. And so an appeals court decided yesterday, yeah, that's not going to happen. Had him on yesterday, and one of the things that he's worried about are all of his fellow agents. And look, there is concern, Kayleigh, that are these people even going to do these jobs? Are they going to want to do the job that puts them in extra harm's way? He's been doxxed. He's had a gang put a hit out on him. That case, by the way, is being adjudicated because they caught the suspect in that. I mean, how much can one individual take? But you feather that out. How much can any of them take? They're just going to work every day. They're just trying to make the world safer, our world inside the United States, our world inside of Chicago, Illinois. And the governor basically makes it worse. He's calling them, did you hear the mayor, Brandon Johnson, calling them barbarians? Say, hey, Greg Bovino's barbaric. Well, the guy's already got a hit out on him. What do you want people to even come in more on him? It's endangering life, the rhetoric from the left. But these people, why do they stop the cars? Because they've been doing it for months. They did it on the San Francisco Golden Gate Bridge. They don't know the difference between a regular car and a federal car. I don't think they care. Yeah, and Governor Pritzker, he had the audacity to claim that he's actually trying to help ICE. I want to play that moment where Todd Lyons said, he's not helping us.
If you bring us a judicial warrant, we will bring you all kinds of help on the ground to go get the bad guys. That's what we want. We want the bad guys off the streets. What we don't want is for people to get racially profiled. That's what's happening right now.
Are they giving you all kinds of help there in Illinois?
That's 100% false, Kaylee. Yeah, I really wanted to know who the governor is actually helping, because he's actually helping criminals. He's not helping us. So we've even had cases where we've had criminal warrants. You know, you look at a lot of these cases, they talk about raids in Chicago. We don't do raids. It's targeted enforcement operations that, oh, yes, Governor, we had criminal warrants, yet you're still putting targets on the brave men and women of ICE. So it's completely false.
So I remember watching Brett's interview with J.B. Pritzker, and I was most interested in that comment because Pritzker had said that the one good thing Trump had done was shut the border down. You know, that's it, problem solved. We don't have to talk about this anymore. But the point of an open border was millions of people coming into the country to take advantage of an incentivizing welfare system that makes it very comfortable to live here. The problem is that is unsustainable. My problem here is I, like everybody else in this country, wants bad people, violent people, child rapists taken out of our cities because they're the people, we've talked about this a lot, they're the ones who commit the most crimes over and over again, and because of Soros-funded DAs, they are not properly prosecuted. So it's the recidivists who are doing the most harm. Get those people out. If you are a rational governor and you want that to happen and you want ICE to operate with nuance, then have a conversation instead of demonizing the entire system. And law enforcement agents who are sworn members of ICE or Homeland Security, they have powers of arrest and badges and guns and a great deal of responsibility. So talk to them. If you're worried that people in your community who are innocent and hardworking are being targeted, then change the system legally, not with this radicalized emotion that they are hoping leads to murder. That is the point of this sort of radicalization. You know, people, the girl who's running for Congress, she's radicalized, and she's speaking to people who have nothing else to do. Maybe they're paid to be there. That is the worst possible way to change the system. But Pritzker is not interested in the logical way, unfortunately, for Illinois and the rest of the country if he runs for president.
You know what the tell is? The tell is in these riots that you see, you never see Chicago PD trying to keep the order. ICE has less rights than the average citizen because Chicago PD, which will do the job if they're allowed to, not to enforce immigration, to make sure that ICE agents aren't beaten the heck out of, frankly, and dragged out of their own cars. You never see that. That's the tell.
Yeah, well, Todd Lyons said, come on a ride along, J.B. Pritzker and everyone else. I'll be interested to see if that happens.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.